In historic Damascus, the rhythms of commerce have outlasted empires, but for one individual walking these streets, wealth was shrinking down to a single dwindling currency: hours. By all external measures, he was a man who possessed every material advantage. He was a successful merchant with access to the highest tier of global medical care. Yet specialists in Damascus and America had all reached the same conclusion: his body was failing, and he had a hard biological limit of exactly 7 to 10 days left to live. He had hit a terminal deficit. A lifetime of accumulated financial resources offered no leverage against a strict limit on biological time. Later that same night, the city grew quiet. In the darkened alleys, another life was unraveling. A widow was navigating a different type of countdown. Her husband had been dead for a year, her children were starving, and her landlord had set an absolute deadline of tomorrow before her family was evicted. Driven to the edge of survival on a narrow bridge, she found herself begging a stranger. She offered to go with him, simply to secure enough money to keep her children alive for one more day. Wandering the streets in his own despair, the merchant stopped. He stood just steps away, listening as the stranger negotiated her price, then walked away, leaving her alone in the street. These were two separate trajectories, driven by two types of poverty. Both were 24 hours away from collapse, and they had just physically intersected in the dark. The merchant stepped forward. He approached the woman, assuring her he meant no harm, and asked her to explain the situation that had brought her to such a desperate measure. After hearing her story, he handed her all the cash he had on him. But he knew that a single pocketful of bills would not solve her underlying crisis. He told her to go home. Then he secured a large sum of money, rented a van, and loaded it with groceries, and drove to her house in the middle of the night. He unloaded the heavy boxes of rations, handed her the funds to pay her landlord, and promised to cover her rent moving forward. He didn't stop at a single night of charity. He updated his official will, establishing a permanent arrangement to ensure a monthly stipend would be delivered to her address. As he walked away, something internally shifted. By absorbing the financial burden of a stranger, the merchant's own dread was replaced by a sense of quiet, unexplainable peace. The medical deadline arrived. 7 days passed, then 10. He survived. The silent contract remained. 1 year passed, then 5, then 10. Charity flowed to the widow, while the merchant simply kept living an additional 20 years. 2 decades after he was told he had a week remaining, he woke up for the night prayer, performed his ablutions, and passed away while in prostration. The initial diagnosis hadn't changed, yet, for reasons the merchant's doctors couldn't explain, the expected biological decline simply didn't happen. After the burial, the merchant's sons opened his will. They found the address and the instructions regarding the stipend. Assuming it was an ongoing obligation, they gathered the money and drove to the house. An elderly woman opened the door. When the sons explained why they were there, she thanked them but firmly refused to take the money. She told them the monthly delivery was no longer necessary. Her son, the child the merchant had fed 2 decades prior, had secured a reliable job a month earlier. With tears of joy, she said her son had collected his very first paycheck exactly 7 days ago. The sons froze. Their father had passed away exactly 7 days ago. The arrangement between the dying merchant and the desperate widow had an exact expiration date. It ended the same week the widow's family became self-sufficient. There is an ancient spiritual maxim that states, "Secret charity extinguishes the wrath of the Lord." This sequence of events suggests that altruism synchronizes human destinies. The scales of divine timing are balanced. Life, provision, and death arrive and depart according to a specific, shared timing.